Hey everybody, welcome back to Sergeant's Talk TV. I'm Big Mike.
Normal size Jason.
Yep. Hey, tonight, guys, we're going to be talking about 100% mental health rating explained. Okay. Uh, so we're going to be breaking down 100% mental health and mental health conditions aside from eating disorders that the VA rates all mental health conditions using the same diagnostic criteria. We'll be breaking it down in the following steps. Okay. Types of mental health conditions eligible for VA disability benefits. Does substance abuse qualify veterans for mental health with a VA rating? How mental health conditions are rated. 100% VA mental health rating criteria, and how to get 100% mental health VA rating if your combined rating is not at 100% TDIU. Okay, so we're going to be talking about all that tonight. So strap in, get ready. We're going to be talking about mental health tonight. So, but before we do that, let's say hello to everybody in the chat.
And I see Jennifer Ocean Homestead coming in and says she's listening while she's packing. She got big things going on over there.
All right. There's our flipping farmstead, Dawn, our favorite female Marine.
And we know she's not running around right now. Guys,
yeah, she had her knee done.
She did, and there's been a little bit of healing complications, so she's down a little harder. So all of y'all that are into the thoughts, prayers, all that stuff, send them all towards Dawn right now, because she's got to get back on her feet. She's got a herd to raise over there.
Yeah. Yep. And there's our friend Dana Mason. Says, hey, Mike and Jason, I appreciate you both so much. Hey, Terry and Tara, Tim, Stella, Renly, and I are lurking and want to shout out what amazing help these men do. Well, we've been working with Dana to get the information from the National Archives on her father that has passed away last month. So they can get his burial flag and some other things because he is a veteran. So I hope that we were helpful in any way to get you on the right path. We both submitted a request.
Yeah.
We both got back the same information because he is deceased. It has to be your next of kin. So hopefully we gave Dana enough information that she's successful in her endeavors. So there you go. Thank you very much, Dana, for those kind words.
And there's Ace.
Yes. There's our favorite MP.
There she is, Denise, making it in right on time.
Yeah. And there's Neil S. saying hello to everyone.
See Jason Schoen said, "Hey, Big Mike and Jarhead Jason from the western part of the Bluegrass State."
All right.
Glad to have you in.
There's Loose Screw Ranch. Kim, she's in here.
And she fits right in. She's a loose screw.
Yep.
Perfect.
There's Kathleen Sasser's here. She says she's got 3 lives she's bouncing back and forth in. Yeah, it's hard to support everybody. I get it.
Yeah. See, Kathleen, my husband was in Navy, passed away 20 years ago. Well, thank you to you and your husband for his service.
Yes.
There's our little buddy right there.
Yep. Colin, looking good.
Colin.
He's our #1 fan. So.
And that matter of fact, look, I just now noticed their picture is him in the shirt.
Oh, okay. There you go. He's got a Sergeant's Talk TV shirt on.
We even in mini size, guys.
Yep, even in mini size.
Lonely Hitchhiker Kent.
Yep.
And I'm not a vet, but want to say thank you to all for y'all's service. Kent, that's the great thing about us is You don't have to be a vet, obviously, to come into this channel. It's about getting the information out to vets, but then also that support that we get as veterans. So we appreciate you being in here, brother.
Yeah, I wish VA covered widows from, well, you know, if your husband is a vet and you can go talk to the VA, best bet would be going to the DAV and seeing what you're entitled to as a widow of a vet. So don't count it out, but you need to talk to somebody at the DAV or go to a local VA hospital and go to the hospital administration and ask questions.
Yep.
Okay. Let's see. There's Rebecca touched by yarn.
And I see. Yeah, Jennifer, like I said, she's got, closing in the 25th. Okay, nice.
Right.
Bought her a new to her house.
Yeah. There's Webb's Web. Ralph. He's in here.
Doing, Ralph?
Let's see.
So Neil's talking about trying to do the mental health through the VA. They've been canceling his appointments a lot, but now he's in community care, which we've talked about before. And that absolutely, when they started that program was a game changer for VA health. And yeah. I have no complaints about anybody that I've went through on community care.
Yeah. There's Scott Spencer.
There's our buddy. I just got to see Scott Sunday.
Oh, okay.
Missed his beautiful bride, but got.
And I still have not put that up. I'm trying to find the right anchor because it is kind of heavy for drywall. And I've seen these new anchors that they've got, and they're made out of brass. And they got it's like a, you know, like the plastic ones, but it's made out of brass and it's got these teeth on it. So all you have to do is hammer it into the wall. And when you screw the screw in there, it spreads it out like this. And I was watching the company and they were trying to pull it out, and they pulled out a whole chunk of drywall. The problem is once you've got them in, they're in.
Right.
Okay. So make sure that's where you want it to stay the rest of your life.
Or you just put it on a wooden wall and you can move it if you need to. But
yeah, that is true.
That's
the wrong mouse.
Barbara Castile showing up, says hello guys, have a great evening. Thank you, Barbara.
Yeah, thank you. Kathleen says we love your channel. Well, thank you very much.
Appreciate you, Kathleen.
Neil's over in Florida. The VA really sucks here. Oh, sorry.
So Ray Castile up in the northern part of the volunteer state.
All right. The Tennessee, I'm believing that's volunteer state.
That would be the one.
People who wear a lot of orange.
And then they make their license plates blue.
Yeah. I talked with the local DAV. They couldn't help, not near a hospital. I'm sorry. Yeah, it does stink. There you go.
So we live in California. My daughter-in-law's dad is a retired Marine. Okay, the poor man has been through the mill trying to get mental health services. It's a crime for real.
Yeah. Hey, there's Susan Spencer.
Well, there's Scott's bride. There she is.
And finally on the list is Brampton Gardner, the beautiful queen from the north.
Oh, wait. That's not the end of our list.
Oh, wait.
Well, yeah. So Denise said, just an FYI, most VA hospitals have a walk-in mental health if you are experiencing a crisis. I personally utilized this, and it helped jumpstart my treatment. So And that is, and I've known several of my Marine buddies that have went in on the walk-in.
Now, another thing you can do if you're being seen by the VA, you can go in and contact your provider and say, "Hey, I need to talk to somebody," and just you don't have to give them a whole lot. I'm having thoughts that you don't have to tell them what it is, and they will set you one up. Or I know in Oklahoma, I can call the 3,000 number or the 5,000 number and make an appointment right there with one of the schedulers and just say, "Hey, I'm feeling a certain way. I'm really anxious and I'm having these thoughts and I'd like to talk to somebody." And that will absolutely get the ball rolling. Okay. Now, there's a lot of stigmas behind mental health, especially if you're a pew owner. People are hesitant to contact the VA or even talk about mental health issues because of those reasons. Okay. So, you got to make the conscious. If it's what's best for you, then it's what's best for you. And you need to make the right decision. And there is our favorite VA nurse, Angie. Angie. Haven't seen her in a while. She's probably been very busy.
I'm sure. And she works at the VA, like we said. That's why she's our favorite VA nurse. And says you can walk into any office and we will walk you to help anywhere you go in the VA clinic.
Yep, that is absolutely true. Okay. You may not get it at your clinic, but you will get it if you go to the hospital. Okay. And then once you've been seen, and if they want to do follow-up sessions with you and you're entitled to care in the community, they will set that up in your community to see a mental health provider. Okay. Right. So just remember that.
Yep.
Let's see.
Hanging in the man cave.
I have a room upstairs that I wanted to turn into a man cave. And then outside of that is the family room upstairs with the pool table, the dartboards, the big screen TVs, and the big L-shaped couch and all that stuff. Just haven't got around to it. I've been hesitating. I've been to a lot of appointments for my legs. They didn't want to do the knee surgeries on me. They wanted to make sure because I got a lot of numbness in my legs, and they're like a reddish tint sometimes. So they wanted to make sure I didn't have blood clots or anything like that or whatever. So they've ruled all that out. So now I just got to figure out when is getting a new knee. How am I going to work that into my schedule? Because there is a recuperation period once they replace your entire knee. So, yeah. So I'm hesitant in how long it's going to take me be out of the network overall. Hey, there's Devil Dog.
Semper Fi, Eddie.
And what does Devil Dog spell backwards? God lived.
God lived.
I seen that on his Facebook.
I was like looking at the letters going, God lived. I was like Leved, spelling things out. Hooked on phonics.
And there's Judy Herman.
Well, Judy, you're not late. You're getting in here right now. There's Brother Tony. Cold snack. Cheers, brother.
All right. Let's see.
Did you see Dawn's? Right above that one. I just see my knee doc, and Dawn, yeah, someone who just had knee surgery, don't do it.
Oh, well, it's getting bad. My knees are
Tony's looking at needing a new right knee.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So going in, guys, right? We talked about doing the mental health disorders and what types and conditions of mental health disorders are eligible. So mental health can be broken down into trauma and stress-related disorders, psychotic disorders, mood disorders, and residual effects of traumatic brain injuries. Although some residuals may also be rated under different diagnostic codes, it's important to know that the personality disorders, developmental disabilities, and impulsive control disorders do not qualify for VA disability benefits.
Yeah. So they're going to break it down for you when you go in, and if you're going to file, you're going to have to sit down with a mental health professional, counselor, doctor, and they will give you a diagnosis in writing of what their determination is, or what type of diagnosis that they're giving you. And you can use that as your nexus letter when you do your claims on mental health. So just remember, you don't leave out of there. I mean, and the sessions may last for a while. I don't know. And it's not like the VA is keeping you in therapy like civilian ones do, so you can pay for their kids' college or their new home or their Lambo or whatever the case is. They're there to get to the root of the problem. Now, I will tell you that I've talked to a lot of veterans, and the VA, I don't know if it's on their checklist. We got to give you some kind of medication, okay? And I know a lot of people treat their undiagnosed mental illness with different types of recreational drugs, if you know. And remember, we did a video or a live a while back on cannabis. If you participate in recreational marijuana, all you have to do is make sure that you notify your primary care so they can annotate it in your records. They don't hold it against you or anything like that. If your state is one of those states that have recreational use, or if you're using it under a doctor's prescription or whatever. So just make sure that you let the VA know, because if all of a sudden they do a urinalysis on you and they go, hey, then they're going to have questions. They're not going to hammer you or take away your benefits or anything like that for marijuana. Now, if you're using harder drugs, okay, in the form of a pill or a snort up the nose and stuff like that, then they're going to have questions for you because they're going to say, hey, something's wrong. And the first thing they're going to go to is mental illness and why you're taking these types of recreational drugs that are not listed by your state as recreational. Okay, so just remember that. All right, so does substance abuse qualify veterans for mental health VA rating? To be clear, substance abuse disorder also does not qualify as its own benefit. However, VA may consider substance abuse as a symptom of the veteran's mental health condition. Okay, like I said, the first thing they're going to go is, hey, this guy's smoking a crap ton of marijuana because it's showing up in his piss test, because you always have to do your labs before your visits.
Right.
And then their first thing is why is he taking or she taking or using marijuana recreational marijuana, or if you've got a health card that you can buy it, why are they taking it? And they may refer you to a mental health professional to, and you might be just taking and say, hey, I had a stressful day and it just mellows me out, and I have me a joint before, and I have a beer just to relax before I can deal with home life or whatever. But that's the first thing that they're going to talk about. Okay. When assigning a rating, it is determined that substance abuse is due to mental health conditions. Veterans can be service connected on a secondary disorder on a secondary basis for disability that arises from substance abuse that's been found due to service connected conditions. For example, Big Mike, my back is tore up from the floor up. Okay. I have sciatic problems in my legs. I got bad knees. I got 2 hips that they had to replace. And I do that because what the VA's given me, or I don't want to take that much medication. So I just pull out the pipe and smoke me a little marijuana, and it makes me feel better. So they can be looking at that also as you're doing your own pain management with it. So they'll break all that down and see why you're actually using and not going through and popping a pill from the VA. Okay.
Yeah. Well, and that was something that I actually went through personally, was going in having to talk to the counselor at the VA. And yeah, that initial visit that I went in and did the assessment with them, they were like, hey, we're going to prescribe. And I said, look, I'm telling you right now, I'm not taking any pills. So you can forget that idea. You're not adding any more medications to what I need, what I have. And once he realized that, okay, I'm not here chasing a pill. I don't want a pill that's going to fix this situation. I have issues that, what do I do about it without just having to pop a pill that's going to cause me 7 other problems?
Right.
I come in with one condition and I leave with 7 side effects from your medicine. Yeah. And so I was very adamant and clear from the get-go from him. Look, you prescribe me something, I'm not going to take it. Don't even waste your time. Don't waste the government money. And he was cool about that. He said, you know what? All right, good. And the biggest thing that he did when I went through that whole session was added tools and coping mechanisms, right? Tools to the toolbox. He related it to something, mechanical that I understood.
Yeah.
He's like, we're just going to put tools in your toolbox to help you manage your conditions, and how you're going to work on that. So don't be afraid that the only way that you can receive counseling or any kind of mental health services is that you have to take the medication.
Yeah.
You can refuse any medication that any doctor gives you.
Right.
If you're not comfortable taking it because, you've done your own research, or somebody that knows enough research to do it. It's not a mandatory thing. And I know that there's a lot of guys that are afraid of that, is, well, they're going to put me on another med.
Right.
That is your choice. They'll prescribe it to you, but you don't have to take that. Now, if it's something that helps you, I know a lot of veterans that those psychological medications, they do help them and they can't function without them.
Right.
So I don't want to take it away from that. But if you're someone, I look at myself where mine isn't a condition that I need medicated. Depends on what day of the week you talk to my wife.
Right.
But, I don't need medication for it. I just need, hey, how do I handle this without medication, without avoiding it? And he did great. So,
right.
As we're going through this, I want to throw that out there, that is an option. Don't think that it's just a cut or dry. There's so much gray area with the VA and treatment. Yeah. And everybody, what works for one guy isn't going to work for the next. and vice versa. So, yeah, Dawn, I wouldn't have to manage my anger if others would manage their stupidity.
Exactly.
Right.
And then you got to look at something. The VA wants to give you a pill for every little thing. And I can only speak on the man side where I have said, hey, no, you need to do something else other than just me swallowing a bunch of pills in the morning and some pills in the evening. And I've got off a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Because you got to, I'm going to be honest that you take too many medications, it will affect other things. Okay. And then, when you go to your doctor and say, hey, I got a problem in the ED world because I'm taking too many freaking medications, and they look at it and they go, huh, yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah.
That'll do it. Maybe we need to relook at your management. Okay. And then all of a sudden she goes, here, instead of taking all these, just take this one. And then I get it in the mail and I'm going, and the first words on it says, psycho. I'm going, what the hell? And I said, well, she told me to take it. And dude, I took this thing. I slept for like 10 hours and I woke up like I had been drinking all freaking night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I said, no, you can take this crap and I'm not taking this stuff no more. And then come to find out, I read all the stuff and it's a muscle relaxer and all this other stuff. And I said, there is no way I am taking this ever again. And I got rid of that one too, because I'd rather be in pain than, the little soldier not working. You know what I'm saying? But
right. No, exactly. And that's why, like, it doesn't matter whether it was a VA doctor or when I first retired and I was going into civilian doctors before I went to the VA. My first sentence out of every one of their mouths, or out of my mouth to every one of those doctors, the very first thing, wasn't hello, was like, I'm not taking any more meds. I'm at my limit of what I want to take. Matter of fact, if we can reduce what I'm on, that's why I'm in here. Like, I'm not here to get more of something or blah, 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 blah. And luckily, my wife being a nurse has a lot of knowledge on this stuff. So anytime that they've looked at trying to change my meds or, add a new one or something like that, I bring it home if she's not in the appointment with me. And I'm like, what do you think? Like, do your research on your medical side and tell me what it, because I live with the pain every single day.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to go away.
Right.
But I don't want to take a medication that's going to cause me other issues later on. Like, I can manage what I have now and operate.
So Jason here, the VA's not saying that you can't use marijuana, THC, for pain management. They're just not going to deliver it through the pharmacy so you can have it, because it's still illegal at the federal level, and that's where they get all their funding, is at the federal level. So they know that a lot of states has got medical marijuana, and some states have medical marijuana and recreational marijuana. As long as you're within that state, no one's going to arrest you or anything like that. So the VA just wants to know, hey, you live in Oklahoma, they have medical marijuana, you're using it. They just want to make sure it's annotated. So when they do piss tests and stuff like that, they can say, okay, he's already told us that he's using it for whatever reason he's using it. And number one, you just don't even have to tell them that. You can just say, hey, I do partake every once in a while on some wacky weed. And as long as they got it annotated, but they don't hold it against you.
Well, and it's in my experience, so it's in that same line. And guys, I've been laughing and giggling, not what Mike says, because I've been reading the comments, and Angie trying to help Robin over at Annabore understand a little bit of terminology we threw out there a minute ago. Pretty hilarious.
That one.
Yeah, she wasn't understanding what we were talking about in the ED world. So that was awesome.
Okay, guys, what is ED world?
Yeah.
Well, ED world is a nightmare for a dude.
Right. Oh, they covered us, brother. We got it. But yeah, no, that was hilarious.
Yeah.
Kind of reading through those. So back to the whole like THC. Why won't they do the oils? There's all this stuff with the cannabis that has medical benefits. Absolutely, it does, right? But it's just like the VA will not issue or prescribe opioids of any sort. And so for the longest time, when I was on that level of pain management medication, I had a civilian doctor that, luckily being retired, my TRICARE covered. And the VA knew about it. It was in my VA record that I took it. So anytime I did a urinalysis or anything, but I had a civilian doctor controlling, the opioid medication they had me on. Now I'm off it now, luckily, but yeah, they will not prescribe it. And that's something like the THC. They won't go. They're going to give you the aspirin level, extra strength Tylenol maybe, but they're not going beyond that, which a lot of conversations that, you have with veterans, right, is most of us are seeing, and our cases are pain management. Like, look, I know I retired or I got out of the military, whatever. Like, I just want to be able to get out of bed in the morning.
Yeah.
And not need help. I just want, but they're adamant, and I'm not seeing anything that's going to change their policy as of yet of, researching and trying to find out why they won't go. And I think a lot of it, the couple doctors I've talked to about it, they said they're hesitant because of the addiction.
Yeah.
Which falls in line, with tonight's conversation of being the mental health thing. Like, you get an addiction to something. Now that addiction isn't there, but now it's caused you other symptoms and issues. And it kind of correlates. So
some people will counter back with that. Yeah, you can be addicted to marijuana, but you can also be addicted to all the painkillers that they issue you out, and it can be just as bad or even worse than getting hooked on THC. You know what I mean? So they are contradictory in nature, saying, okay, we won't do it the natural way, we're going to do it the pharmaceutical way, and we'll get you hooked on this crap. And I know guys that's been on pain medication for 20, 30 years, and they can't live without it now. You know what I mean? So it's a tit for tat.
So how are mental health conditions rated, right? Because we talk a lot about this, right? Your rating, the level of your rating is basically that equivalates to what services you qualify for. So mental health conditions are all rated using the VA's general rating formula. Disorder ratings can be assigned at a 0, or a 10, 30, 50, 70, or 100. Kind of got some gaps. Like, the VA always does everything in 10s, but for this one, they jump a few on them. Depending on the level of the social and occupational impairment that's caused by the condition. And that's kind of the big key. Each of these ratings has a list of symptoms that the VA may associate with a particular rating. But it's important to know that veterans do not need to exhibit every single symptom that's listed in the rating criteria to receive that particular disability. Evaluation, since mental health conditions can manifest differently per individual, VA's ratings formula for mental health conditions is not binding. So yeah, you don't need every, you Google something, right? And you look at it and it says, boom, boom, you have all these. You don't have to hit the box on every single one of them. It's based on what is the severity. And honestly, that was the big key in the first part of that was your occupational and social impairment.
Right.
That is what their big key focus is
Right.
will it allow you to be out in public, or does it hold you at home, and can you work? Like if it affects your ability to work and provide an income for you, your family, whatever your situation, those are by far the two biggest that they look at. And I know that because that's the things that they focused on when I was going through the therapy sessions was these conditions. Their first two questions. Well, can you work? Well, sure. In the right place, in the right time, around the right amount of people. And what is it like in public? And I'm like, I just don't go in public. Like, and that's where he came at me with the toolboxes of how do you manage situations.
Yeah. So when they're saying that they'll give you a 0, you'll get a 0 because you sat down and you talked about it. And they're saying, hey, okay, this guy's been in combat zones and stuff like that. Or this traumatic thing happened to him while he was in the military, whatever. And they'll say, okay, he's let us know. They'll make it service connected because they can connect the dots. Okay. And they'll give you a 0. Now they can say, well, he's connected all the dots right here, and we see a possibility. So a possibility of mental illness, and you get a rating of a 10. Now the 100 is, hey, you're batshit crazy, okay, or whatever, and that will get you up to a 10. Or you've actually done harm to yourself because of whatever's going on in your brain. And we got to let people know what affects one veteran or one person may not affect another person the exact same way. It is how the brain processes it. And it's different on every single person. So I got deployed, and I seen the same thing as Jason seen. And I come back and I'm just batshit crazy over the whole thing. And Jason goes, man, I had fun. You know what I mean? It affects people different, and it's how the brain processes and copes with whatever traumatic event happened in your life, car accident or whatever. Some people don't have it because when they got in a car accident, they were unconscious and they woke up in the hospital and they don't remember nothing. Where some people were in a car accident, awake for the whole thing while they're trying to cut their body out of a freaking car. And every time they moved, something traumatic was happening with your body. So there's all these what ifs determining the level of disability for somebody with mental illness. And I just wanted to put that out as an example. Okay. And
that's the big key of why they're going to send you to a counselor. You're going to see a therapist. You're going to have multiple sessions. It isn't just a one and done.
Yeah.
This is going to be a multi-appointment deal. And the biggest key is, and I know I'd seen somebody, I think Angie had said in there, was like, be honest with that therapist, that counselor, whoever, is you need to tell them the truth. Like that isn't the time that you're in there and be like, well, I'm a man and I don't want to. No.
Right.
F all that, right? You need to go in and tell them the truth because they need to know, like, what is it that they can do. And like I said, I'm the example is it's not always a medication issue. Sometimes it's just they teach you a coping mechanism, but they need to know because this is such a gray area.
Right.
Because no two people, and I've seen it, like Mike said, so many times. Guys that I've deployed with have come back and they are messed up bad, like can't sleep, hot sweats, all this type of stuff going on. And I'm like, I was right next to you the whole time. You know, it's how your brain processes it, and that's what that therapist and that counselor and these mental health services are for, is show you the way that you can process it, and be able to function normal.
Right. Hey, and then flip the coin, that you're having these same conditions, okay, and you may not have filed for PTSD or whatever before, but you're taking so much medication, the things that are happening to you, the depression and the anxiety, can be from all the medication, and then your mental illness is being developed as a secondary to all that medication. And the same thing, we talked about this before under our live for secondary conditions. ED is a secondary condition to all this medication they're saying you absolutely need to live a comfortable life. Okay, so you got to look at it that way also.
Yep.
Yeah, be absolutely totally honest with them. Okay. All right. So the 100% VA mental health rating criteria. So how do you get 100% mental health rating? The VA rating criteria for 100% mental health disability rating encompasses total and occupational impairment. Okay. This could be due to symptoms like gross impairment and thought process or communication, persistent delusions and hallucinations. I don't know what she's doing. My dog's choking on something. Also, severe deficiencies in maintaining relationships. Okay. Persistent dangers of hurting oneself or others. I know people go, man, if everybody wasn't so stupid, I wouldn't have these thoughts of, you know, doing harm to them or something like that. That could be an issue if you're angry all the time. Additionally, intermittent inability to perform activities of daily living, including minimal personal hygiene or memory loss of close relatives. There are their own occupation or your own name. And there's people that have that. Again, veterans do not need to exhibit every single symptoms of these criteria in order to be eligible for 100% rating. So for an example of what this might look like, is that the condition affects all aspects of an individual's functioning to the point where the veteran is unable to build and maintain personal relationships and is unable to work due to the severity of their condition. It also means that the veteran struggles to perform activities of daily living, which might include things like medication management, meaning that you're taking way too much of what has been prescribed to you, because I know that having a son that was an addict, and we believe that it started when he was diagnosed with ADD in the schools, and they put him on Ritalin, and it makes you feel other than what your normal self is. So people overdo it with the medication because they think inside that, hey, I don't like feeling this way. And if I keep popping these pills, I'll feel a different way inside my brain. Okay. Which might include things like I said, medication management, dressing, hygiene, bathing, cooking, and more. The list goes on and on. It is your inability to do those basic things that will get you 100% disability with mental illness. Now, again, how does that relate to what liberties will be taken away from me? That's what goes through people's minds when they're being diagnosed that way. Oh, they're going to give me 100% disability. What do I do with Mike's secret room? Okay. What's going to happen with that? Because I've got all these things that are registered in my name, and are the feds going to do something? I ain't going to a mental health professional at all, period. And that, where does that get you? Okay. It's not, you're not getting the help you need for the root problem, and you're worried about everything else. Okay. And then, so now you're lying to yourself, you're lying to your doctor, just like an addict would do, where if you've ever been around an addict, they can probably sell you your dirty underwear again and make you believe that they're going to be honest and they're going to change and all this other thing. The same thing with a veteran. All right. They're worried about all those worldly things and not their mental health. And when we got back from deployment, well, not when I did, but after I retired, they started out with that program where everybody had to see a mental health person, in the Army, I can speak for the Army, hired a lot of people to sit down and do counseling sessions with everybody that redeployed. And the big violators of that, leaders were pushing people, hey, I seen different changes in this guy. You're going to go see mental health. The problem was with the leadership. The leadership wasn't being treated or being interviewed, and they changed that also, where everybody from the commander on down, you're going to sit down in a session once you redeploy, and hopefully they catch you, unless you're just a great liar or a great actor. Okay.
Well, they actually went to too. So not only with that, because I mean, obviously, like I had deployed even after you had retired, was not only did you have to do a mental health assessment, but then there was like a mental cognitive to test for kind of TBI conditions. So you would do a screening before you deployed, and then as soon as you got back, you did the same screening, and they would measure.
Yeah.
Was there a difference? Was there a fluctuation? Anything like that? Because I mean, let's face it, guys. Mental health in the military is a major discussion,
Yeah.
and it should be. And the thing is, it's so undiagnosed and untreated because of the stigma. And we've talked about it a lot, right? It's hard to even go to medical, right? You hurt your knee on a training operation when you were 5 years into your career, and you're like, I'm gonna eat it up until I retire. And now all of a sudden you're digging for paperwork because you never went to medical knowing you needed that, because I don't want to be non-deployable. Because
Right.
if you get a non-deployable status, you're basically worthless.
You're
In
worthless.
the simplest of terms of putting it to somebody that hasn't been in there, was you're deemed worthless. Like, you don't serve any purpose anymore. You're just wasting oxygen.
Right.
And none of us, male, female, whatever, no service member ever wants to feel worthless.
Right.
Right? Everybody joined for a point of purpose to defend. And when you start throwing the mental health stigma in there, well, now you got the guys that, okay, well, all of a sudden, now I can't go to the rifle range.
Right.
I can't handle my weapon. We talk about it as veterans, right? Can they come into my home and take my weapons and stuff? I'm sure if I had enough mental health spells that those types of precautions, and I know early on when we started, and I still haven't heard anybody. I know, actually, I seen Ricky. Well, I threw him up on you. Ricky came in. He just got back from Springfield at a CMP exam. Ricky actually asked his local clinic up in Branson. He goes to Branson to go to it. And they still aren't issuing the gun locks.
Right.
That was a program that we talked about and that they're supposed to be implementing. Hey, free gun locks for all your stuff. So it's one of those things that you've got to get beyond that stigma of it's gonna make things worse, because
Yeah.
if you don't get it treated, um, it's gonna get worse, and you're gonna harm yourself or you're gonna harm somebody else.
And the Army's backed it up. Okay. For years, they have been doing studies. Okay. Years of studies
Mhm.
of a unit. And let's say a unit before they deploy for the first time, and they got all these people, whatever, and they have a certain rating, how many times they've been in trouble with the law, how many speeding tickets did the commander go through, yada, 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 so on and so forth. And then after the deployment, then they see, and they've seen a rise in incidences after they've come back. And what they contributed that to was, when, let's just take a movement within a combat zone. Okay. Your commander comes out, hey, we got a mission. We're going to go over to camp here from camp A over to camp B. It's 50 miles away. We're going to deliver all these supplies or whatever it is. And they say, okay, these are the guys that's going to be on the convoy. These are the guys, the gunners and all that kind of stuff, lead front, all that stuff is going to happen. So they get done with their briefing, and you're going up, and a soldier, Marine, or whatever automatically goes into heightened alert inside their body. Okay. Mm-hmm. You don't know where the roadside bombs are. You're looking, you're scanning, you're everywhere, and you're on this high. And it is a high, guys. If you're in combat, it is a high. And when you go by buildings, or you say, well, wait a minute, that's a great place to ambush. And all of a sudden, you know, number one, you're getting goosebumps all over yourself, and you're going, okay. And you're on heightened alert in your body. Now, you've done this, you're deployed for a freaking year. And every time you go out, the same thing is happening to you. And you become accustomed to that high of going out. Now they're saying, all right, we're going back home. And you go back home, and you're back to the same humdrum, going to the motor pool every day, going home to the family. No excitement's going on. So what do soldiers do? And I can only say soldiers. Some of them do some dumb stuff. Okay. They're getting in bar fights downtown. They're whatever. All of a sudden they're going out and they're shooting within a city limit, and they get arrested. They're doing all kinds of stupid stuff. So what the Army did is they came out with a thing called Warrior Adventure Quest. And I was one of the bases at Fort Leonard Wood when they came out with the program. And what it was to introduce high adventure activities to soldiers to participate in, and the government paid for this. And it could be, downhill racing on snow. It could be bungee jumping. It could be whatever. Something that freaking grabs your soul, and give them an alternative to doing destructive things rather than constructive things. Okay. And the government the Army's still using that program. They have spent millions upon millions of dollars. I was at Fort Carson, and I was doing the program, and I was spending over $1 million a year on that division, doing these high adventure things. And the Rocky Mountains is a great place to do it. You know what I mean? If you've ever been on top of Pikes Peak, and you're going to do the road race coming down on road bikes and stuff like that, that will grab your attention and put you on heightened alert, rather than saying, hey, I got all this money from deployment. I haven't spent nothing when I was gone. I'm going to go out and buy me a 900 Ninja. I've never had a motorcycle. And they go out and they kill themselves, and doing those destructive things rather than constructive things. So that's the problem. Now, a soldier, a Marine, a sailor, an airman, when they joined the military, they were a normal kid or a normal person. Then you introduce them to some psychotic drill sergeant and you're doing all this crazy stuff, and then you're deploying. And as time goes by, you are never normal again. But society wants you to come back from war and be normal again like everybody else. And you don't know how hard it is unless you've been in those shoes with people that's been on height and alert for all that time. And then when you go on multiple deployments, like Denise here, okay, what's normal for us now? That's where mental illness comes into effect. And that's what all the counseling when you redeploy is all about, to see where you're at. And if you're not honest and you're lying, you're only doing yourself a disservice. And everybody in the Army, I can tell you, was saying, hey, if they nail me to the wall of being one of the psychos, then my career is over with. And that's what people were afraid of. They didn't believe the chain of command. Oh, nothing will happen to you. Just be honest and blah, blah, blah. No, they're not going to swallow that. And they're not swallowing it. And they're still having problems with that. So.
Yeah, it's that surge of the adrenaline, like you talked about, right? You get in, you get that hyper sense. Like when you're on deployment, and we've talked about this before, being on a deployment is the easiest part of your military career you'll ever have, because you're just there to not die.
This is what you train for your whole life,
right? Everything that you've trained for, everything like that is the easiest part of any military career. All the veterans I've talked to say the same thing, like, hey, deployments, easy. Rather do those than sit back at garrison where I'm bored and I have to find something that's going to entertain me. And I know, a while back, right, I had my uncle up on here, and he's talked about that. He's very much that example of that. Right. Was he did so many deployments that, he comes back now to put him in a vehicle to drive his truck down to the grocery store or go wherever. His anxiety level is through the roof, to where a lot of times he gets stuck. He has to stop and call somebody to come pick him up and bring him home.
Right.
But he gets on his motorcycle, he can jump on his Harley, and he can ride from North Carolina to Washington State in Oregon on a whim. Like, him and his buddy were like, hey, we're going to just go out for, a weekend ride. And next thing you know, they were in Oregon State. And he's like, I don't know how we got here, but he never had an issue. But it's that heightened alert level when you're on a motorcycle, and that adrenaline that puts it when you're riding, vice in a car where it assimilates it too much to the military tactical vehicle. And that, like, it's hard to explain unless you experience it, but it's kind of that level you're talking about, is like, you have to get to the extreme X Games level. Once you've done some deployments and stuff like that, you're in an X Games level where everyone else is like, man, rush hour is horrible and I'm anxious. And you're like, rush hour is nothing. Like, how do I jump that overpass? And so, yeah, it's definitely a different normal, right? We've mentioned that a lot, right? We as veterans have a different normal than what society wants us to have.
Right.
So how do you get 100% mental health VA rating if your combined rating is not 100%? So even if a veteran is not assigned a 100% rating, they may still be eligible to receive compensation at the 100% pay rate through a total disability rating based on individual unemployability, or TDIU, right? So that's the big key, is if it puts it where you're unemployable,
right,
you get that 100% rating there. So TDIU is reserved for veterans who do not reach the 100% combined rating, but are unable to work due to the severity of their service-connected conditions. So for more information on how to receive TDIU for mental health conditions, you can visit the VA website. or via at va.gov. Talk to a DAV counselor or call the VA service desk at 1-800-827-1000. Same number that's in the description. All this info, guys, by the way, is in the description. And ask for a contact number for a local VSO that can help with further information.
Yeah.
So yeah, you could have a whole laundry list of medical conditions that don't rate to 100%. But if you can get 100% solely on a medical or a mental health if you are deemed unemployable.
Right. Yeah, because if you're such a basket case, and guys, when we say things that you'd say normally, wow, how can they talk like that? That's how veterans talk to veterans. Okay, we just say it. Okay, we say it the way it is. We accept that, and it's like one guy I seen him. He was at one of the events. I go, "Hey, what's up, Bob?" And his wife goes, "His name's not Bob. It's Roger." And he looks at his wife, says, "Hey, calm down. Okay." He calls me Bob because I got no legs. Okay. It's just, it's what we do. We accept that. Okay. And I know it sounds hurtful, but a veteran to a veteran, it's just what we do. And we don't feel sorry for anybody else. We know inside of our brain that guy, next to dying in combat, he gave the ultimate sacrifice. Okay. And it is with reverence that we tease each other when we see another veteran and stuff like that. Or, we see another veteran and say, "Dude, how'd you lose your arm?" And everybody goes, "Oh my gosh, how can you just blatantly say that? What battle were you in? What happened? Blah, 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 whatever." It's just what we do. But guys, I'm going to tell you something. If you ask me, mental illness is probably one of the most diagnosed symptom in our veterans. Okay. I don't care if you were in a wreck in a deuce and a half on the way to the range during a training exercise. I don't care, whatever it is. Those traumatic things change a person's life. So when you go around and you thank somebody for their service, you don't know what that veteran's been through. Okay. But they were willing to do it. They did it. And they probably would do it again. All right. I see a lot of people, or I've listened to a lot of people that's lost limbs and stuff like that. And it broke their heart that they had to leave the service. All right. Or somebody's in a bed and they're interviewing. I've seen it on the news. And what's the first thing you want to do? He goes, "I want to go back to my unit." And the reporter's going, "Holy crap, dude, you're laying in a freaking hospital bed. You almost died. And your first thought is you want to go back to your unit." That's what we do. Okay. Right. That's what they do. You will never, other than, in high school, you're on a football team and stuff like that, until you're willing to put your life on the line for your battle buddy standing right next to you. And I'm not going to say he's somebody, it's just when you're back to back and you're in a firefight, number one, you don't want to die, but you don't want your battle buddy, whoever's in that firefight with you, to die. And you'll do everything you can to protect them. And you never know where the hero's going to come out. Okay. And I've been shocked that I knew a guy when I was in 4th Infantry Division that got the Medal of Honor. And I would have never thought this guy would have done what he did in combat. And you don't know what you're going to do as a leader, as a soldier, or whatever, until you get into combat. All right.
Yeah.
You might see, your lieutenant over there curled up next to a rock while everybody else is engaging in a firefight. You don't know what's going to happen. Okay. The cream rises to the top when the shit gets hot. Okay. So just remember that. And I want to thank all the veterans out there that served this great country, were willing to put their life on the line to let everybody else sleep in comfort in the United States, and that war doesn't come to our shores. Okay. And that's the big thing. I'd rather fight in somebody else's backyard than my backyard. Okay. That's why we got all the rednecks with guns and stuff like that. That's why they're here. Okay.
There's
a lot of them.
There is. And that's, and I want to touch on this too. Denise is talking about survivor guilt.
Yeah.
Right. So many. Oh my gosh.
That's a mental illness all by itself.
It is. It really should. It should be a diagnosed illness on its own. Because I've seen that affect more people than anything else. In my experience of the guys that I've seen, personally, that I've either been friends with or, they were my Marines that I had to, handle, that kind of stuff, it makes it hard, right? And to find that new normal, right? And I know we talk about it a lot because it's a very adamant, I think, subject for Mike and I, is people are like, well, you guys aren't normal. You talk to each other this way, you do this. Yeah, we are normal. We're normal for us.
Yeah.
Because to somebody that hasn't been through the things that we've been through, right? In obviously we're talking about, in military situations, but even outside of that, when you haven't been through what somebody else has been through, how can you put a judgment on them? How can you say, well, they're not normal, that's not okay? Well, maybe that is okay. Angie put in here, mental health is worse than physical.
Yeah.
Believe me, my father, a Vietnam vet, and he's mentally screwed. Sense of humor is priority.
Yeah.
And I think that's why a lot of us joke around, right? Is we have to laugh it off, because unless we're in the confidence of those people that we served with, or at least somebody that we're confident knows served and has been through that same thing, we can't let loose in the same situation and say the same things to one another, because people that are outside of that, they're going to be uncomfortable and they're like, wait a minute, that's not acceptable. And in today's society full of Karens, what do you do? Like, you become a recluse because you're like, I'm not allowed to talk to people anymore.
Right.
So yeah, it's very important to get out there and if you know a vet that's struggling mentally, get them some help.
Yeah.
And work them down. Like I'm sitting here as I talk about it, playing a time that I had a Marine that has called me quite religiously. And I don't know how many times that I've talked this dude off the bridge.
Yeah.
Because he refuses to go to the VA clinic to get health because he knows he's going to be admitted, because, he's at the state. He needs admitted and to get some very severe counseling. But he's a single father trying to raise his son.
Yeah.
And he can't afford the 3 days that they're going to mandate him to stay, and he refuses to go.
Yeah.
And to those guys, and I did finally convince him one time to go, and he did go do it.
Yeah.
And he's luckily been better for it since, but you can't just keep putting it off.
Yeah, we are our brother's keeper. I don't care how removed you are from the military. You are your brother's keeper and sister's keeper. I will tell you that through the 8 deployments that I went on in my career, the only one that I had nightmares from was when we went into a peacekeeping deployment in Bosnia. And one of the scouts, they found the mass grave in Srebrenica, and they deployed our brigade over there, and I was with the engineer battalion, and they needed engineer equipment and stuff. So I was in the jump tac, which was the forward deployed tactical operations center. And I was on the ground when they started breaking ground on this mass grave. And when you see thousands upon thousands of people, bound with barbed wire with their hands, and they've been shot in the head and dumped into a grave. And now when they're uncovering it, it's like a big soupy mess of bodies. And you're there for months on end with these forensic scientists. And every day, I can't stand the smell of that. What is that Vic stuff? And because we had to put that in our nose.
Oh yeah.
Day, it wasn't Vicks, it's whatever they use in autopsies and whatever. And that smell makes me sick to my freaking stomach. But that incident right there, when no bullets are flying, you're on a peacekeeping mission, and like I've said before, soldiers, Marines, we are horrible at peacekeeping because that's not what they trained us to be.
Right.
And that gave me nightmares months on end. I mean, it is because right now I can actually see from start to finish when we started doing that, women, children, men, you name it, and that another human being could actually do that to another human being just because of their religion. Okay. Because it was the Serbs against the Bosnian Muslims. And so you don't know what's going to trigger somebody. You don't know what a veteran's been through. And sometimes, they don't want to talk about it. But that's why we started this channel, because we were tired of holding things in. And we talked about this before we started the channel. And I'm going to tell you something. Years ago, I could never even talk about this. But I know that my battle buddy's got my 6 o'clock, and I've got his, and we support each other, and we would support any veteran. We will go out of our way to help people get the help that they need, that we have found, and trying to make your life better through the information that we give you here. Yeah, sometimes it's silly, sometimes it's funny, but all in all, we're here to help our fellow brothers and sisters get the help they need, give them the information they need, and it helps us. You cannot imagine how much this channel helps Jason and myself. So
yeah, we're totally selfish on this, guys. I mean, we talk about wanting to give information out to everybody, and we do that, but we are doing it for our own selfish reasons. Like, we would be lying to you to tell you not.
yeah.
And just talking about this stuff actually does so much more than, honestly, it does more than what I thought it would do at first. Like, I knew, like, no matter where I go, you run into a veteran, right? And you have hours of conversation with them.
Right.
And there's something relatable.
Yeah.
But to know that it's a consistent thing, like, I look forward to this point in the week because I know that that's where, like, all the things that I can't say, like, my wife will listen to everything I tell her, but I can say it here. And I know that other people are understanding, other people are relating. And yeah, it's, like I said, it's probably more for our own selfish reasons, guys. And the fact that we keep seeing people come in every week, and we know that there's people reaching out, they're wanting help, they're getting that. And the more that we can push it out, the more people that we can help is amazing. Yeah, Neil helps us all, Mike and Jason. So, Philip, I guarded a C-141 crash site for 2 months in Sigonella, Sicily in '85. Still only going around an airport because of the JP5 fuel and the smell of burnt bodies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Debbie says, well, welcome in, Debbie. I don't know if we said hi to you. being a civilian but a former firefighter, I can relate so much. Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
And that's why, guys, like,
and I will tell you that firefighters and cops, there's a high percentage of them that's screwed up in the head too.
a very high.
There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
And I thank all of them for their service. Trust me. Yeah, first responders, they do have PTSD just like military.
Yeah.
No doubt about that.
Well, and I think a lot of it too with the first responders, you think about it, right? Like you made that comment earlier, and I know that I've said it to other people before, was we fight all of our wars on other people's soil. We're not fighting it on our own. Our first responders, firefighters, police, they're doing it on our own soil. Like they possibly are walking up on a massive nastiness of their neighbor, you know, as to where when we go to another country, we can kind of disassociate it a little bit.
Because I'm screwed. I'm a vet and a Leo, law enforcement. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Doesn't matter when you serve, military changes you. Yeah, you're right. So, guys, that's what we have for you tonight. I know we went over just a little bit, but who cares, right?
Not me.
I just want to make sure that the information's out there. Remember, if you want to go back through any of our videos, if you go to see more on the description and you go to the bottom, you can actually hit show the transcript. It won't happen overnight, but you can go back there and over on the right, it will put everything we talked about in chronological order by the time hack. And it'll be over there if you need to go back and you need to get some information that we've talked about or call us out on something.
Right.
So anyway, guys, we want to thank you guys for coming in. Remember, be kind to one another. Help somebody in need. And always, always thank a vet. Guys, we love you. God bless you. And for me, we'll see you on the next video.
Next week, guys.
Open mic next week. We're going to try it again.
I got a plan. When we go on live, I got an idea.
Okay. All right, guys. So, hey, guys, remember, share us out. If you haven't subscribed to us, subscribe to us. The channel's growing. If you want to become a member of our channel, we do have memberships. You don't have to do it, but if you do, we'd appreciate it. And once we get members in there, then we'll be talking about having member-only lives and giving you some information on there also. And it may not be on a Tuesday night. It could be whenever. Whenever we can break free and we can talk about whatever. We may have a special guest. And we'll be talking about certain things. I did talk to the guy from the DAV today. He's at the McAllister VA clinic every Tuesday to answer questions. And I talked to him today and I said, hey, I'd really like to set up a time for you to talk to the people on our channel. So he's going to get back with me. Hopefully we can have him as a special guest. If you want to be a special guest and tell your story, we'd love to do that also, guys. I know we did one. I believe we only did one, and that was Ralph, wasn't it? At Webb's Web. We learned about his military career. So,
well, yeah. We've had Denise up. Denise has talked.
Yeah, well, she's been on a live on an open mic night. Yeah. So, guys, be good. We love you. And we'll see you next week.
Stay safe, guys.
Well, I'll see you tomorrow. Yeah. You'll see you Thursday. All right, guys. Have a great one. Bye.
Bye now.